So today I went to Coventry Cathedral. Now there are really two cathedrals in Coventry, and one of them was the original cathedral, which was bombed, heavily bombed. This entire city was bombed during World War II by the Germans for almost an entire night. It was devastated because it was an engineering center. They built planes and vehicles and stuff, and so it was a legitimate target for the war. And unfortunately, this cathedral sustained heavy damage, and right now all that still stands of it is the walls and one tower, basically. So the spire, the main spire of the cathedral is still there, and the walls. And you can walk through it, and there are some monuments that are built inside of it, and you can walk, into what would have been the nave of the cathedral. Right now, there's no roof on it at all, and it was a really nice day, so it was kind of cool to walk through this shell of the cathedral, practically. The windows had been blown out by the bombs, and they still had frames, though, and because they were stained glass windows, these frames were still really elegant, and when light came through the sides, it was really cool, and it was a neat experience to walk through this, what was left of this cathedral after the bombing in World War II. And they decided, instead of rebuilding this cathedral, that they would add another cathedral next to it. And so there's kind of a walkway between this shell of the cathedral, just the walls, and this new cathedral, which is huge and more modern, and it's built right onto it. They had a cross at the front of the old cathedral, which is kind of outdoors now, it doesn't have a roof, and there was a cross that was made from two of the burnt timbers from the wreckage of the cathedral after it was bombed. And it was these pillars you can see, this cross, was the timbers from the old cathedral, so that was really cool. They also have their little symbol thing, which is a little cross, that is made from 3 nails that came down when the place burned. There were a lot of fire bombs used, and when all the timbers and everything came down, there were lots of nails, and someone took 3 nails, put 2 of them across, 1 of them up and down, and with wire kept them attached and made a little cross like that, symbolism of what's happening afterwards, and reconciliation and everything, and what comes out of the wreckage, I guess. And so that's become their symbol, basically, for this cathedral. And they had shops where you could buy necklaces with these little things, or just little medallion, or little, I don't know, just recreations for recreation, I guess, that you could put on your walls or whatever. But it was really neat. That's not the only thing that this town is known for, and now I'm forgetting. I'm probably going to think of Godiva, because that's the next thing I want to say. Coventry. Well, they made the first jet engine in Coventry, and that's not what I was talking about, though. Is Godiva is what I'm talking about. Lady Godiva. Nothing to do with Godiva chocolate, so don't get too excited. But Lady Godiva has a very interesting story. Have you ever wondered where the phrase "peeping Tom" comes from? Now you will find out. A long, long time ago, I'm not exactly sure when, and I know I had a history class where he said you're not supposed to say a long time ago or way back when, or you're supposed to be specific about times in history, but I can't remember, so I'm just going to say a while ago. There was a landowner who basically owned all the land in Coventry, and he taxed people extremely high for their land, and they couldn't stand it, and so they were demanding that he lower the taxes, and he wouldn't budge. Well, his wife kind of joined the people's cause, and she was like, "Hey, hubby, you need to lower the taxes. You're taxing these people too." And the husband was like, "No, no, no." She was like, "You really need to." He's like, "No." And then he decided, just to be funny or whatever, he would make a deal with his wife, and he was like, "Tell you what, I will lower the taxes in this town when you ride through the town naked on a horse." Sure enough, though he didn't expect this to happen, it did. She rode through the town naked on a horse, and as a result, the people got the taxes lowered. Her husband stuck with his word and actually lowered the taxes, and there's now a statue in the middle of town with, it's huge, and it's got her riding on a horse naked, and there's a plaque that's on it. It's trying to be as dignified as possible, because she didn't just do it for the heck of it. She did have a good cause behind it, and it says, Lady Godiva rode through the town. I don't know if they used the word naked. They probably would have used a more proper, nicer sounding word than naked, but and then returned home looking very I don't know, modest, wearing a cloak or something that she had brought with her on the way back, because she really only needed to ride through it once. She wasn't going to ride through the town twice, and that wasn't part of the deal. So she wore a cloak, I guess, as she came back and saved the people from high taxation or something like that. I don't know what the plaque said exactly, but it was basically trying to, in one sentence, say what the statue was about, because you walk through town and you see a naked lady on a horse, you're like, hey, well, I guess I haven't gotten to the peeping Tom part yet. Everyone in town looked away as she did this. I'm not sure if the people in town expected it, if they knew about this little deal that was going on, or if she made that public, or if it was just like, hey, naked lady on a horse, okay. But I guess one guy didn't look away, and he watched her ride through town naked on a horse, and he got the nickname Peeping Tom, which has stuck ever since. Well, in Coventry, there's a main civic building, and there's a big clock on it, and every hour, and I haven't seen this, but I've seen pictures of it, and I've heard that every hour they have this little statue, and it's Lady Godiva, and it's a little plaster painted, so it's not, the statue that I was just talking about is just bronze or whatever metal is made out of, but this is painted porcelain or plaster or something, I don't know, but it's Lady Godiva, and she rides around the clock once on a horse naked, and then above on the clock, Peeping Tom like sticks his head out, and he's like all red in the face, and I saw a picture of it, and he looks like either really, really embarrassed or some kind of devil, because he's like beet red all over, and he's got these beady eyes, and he's really creepy looking. So I think they're definitely trying to make him look really, really bad. And I'm like, forgive the guy for looking. I mean, someone just rode through the town naked on a horse. You don't see that every day. Okay. Anyway, on the way back, a friend of mine, Dave, from California, not the same Dave that I gave a shout out to in the Scoxford 40, but another Dave in this program, he and I sat next to each other. Now, I haven't really gotten to know him very well throughout the program. I wasn't sure if I would like him at the beginning of the program, and now that I'm starting to get to know him, I'm really enjoying talking to him, and I'm having a good time with him, which is sad because we've only got a week, and then we're all going off to our homes or traveling or whatever, but the program's over in a week. So, that means no more Scoxford, which is going to be kind of sad. But he asked me on the bus ride, Scott, so tell me about your girlfriend and how you guys met and everything. So I started telling him the story. Sure enough, everyone on the bus, well, not everyone, but a lot of people that were sitting around us on the bus slowly stopped their conversations and started listening to my story, to the point where, like 5 seats ahead of me, there were girls turning around and saying, "Can you speak up a little bit? We can't hear you up here." And there were people behind me that were listening too. I ended up talking to maybe like 20 or 30 people on this bus, just telling my story of how I met my girlfriend, and they liked it. I mean, afterwards, a lot of them were like, "Oh, it was really cute and sweet, and I liked that story of how you guys met and started dating and everything." I was like, "Oh, that's great," but I had no idea that many people would be interested. It was just Dave asking me a question. So it was neat. I don't have a problem with it. I mean, obviously I don't have a problem with telling people about my life, really, because that's what I'm doing with Scoxford. But it was just an interesting experience. So I'm grateful that Dave took an interest in my life. So I want to give a shout out to Dave. Thanks, buddy, and I'm sorry that we're not going to have too much time to get to know each other, but you seem like a really cool person. I'm sure you'll be very successful in life.